Welcome, and thank you for downloading The 8 Biggest Problems, brought to you by Cadence Management Corporation. For over 25 years, Cadence has been helping organizations around the world to make a difference through project management success. Today, Cadence is widely recognized as a leading provider of project management training, consulting services, and supporting tools. Join Cadence President John Patton as interviewed by colleague Scott Allison in this episode of The 8 Biggest Problems.
Okay, John, let's get into problem number 5.
Problem number 5 is the inability to get team members. Projects get done with resources. Projects get done with team members. And it's tremendously frustrating for project managers to have a project authorized and launched, and they can't get the people to do the work.
And the cause of this?
Well, I've seen a number of causes. One is that in the annual plan, let's say that we have Project A, and it's scheduled to run from January to the end of June. Project B will start up in July, and it uses the same resources as Project A, and we're counting on Project A finishing on time so that those resources can be transferred to Project B. Well, if Project A is delayed, then the transfer of the resources to Project B will be delayed also. It's quite interesting that in organizations that know that Project A is being delayed, many of them will start Project B anyway, without resources, so that they can say, we started Project B on time. Something else that causes people to be missing on a project is emergencies in the operating environment. Let's say Project A was due at the end of July. It wasn't completed, but the team said, we're done. Anyway, it gets implemented, and in the operating environment, a crisis will result. The organization responds in a crisis by saying, who are the experts? Let's pull them into the emergency, and they're going to work full-time until stable operations result. So they're pulled off Project B, and they have to go into the operation and finish Project A there. Meanwhile, Project B suffers. Another cause is that line managers continue to accept projects even when they're out of people. Now, we're not asking managers to say, I don't have enough people, I can't do this project, sorry, out of resources. They still have to say, I recognize that this is a project which needs to be done. At this time, I'm out of resources. Let me review my priorities and come back with some alternatives or recommendations as to how or when we can get this project done as well. Another cause is project managers who don't write all of the problems on the project in their status reports. Some project managers will even turn in status reports that say no problems because they want to give their management the impression that they're under control. It's very key to tell the truth in status reports. And when we're having a staffing problem, not to give up, but to report continuously that this project is going to be delayed because of lack of staff in this area, this area, and this area. Projects are often given the same priority. They're all number one. When you have to choose, what are you going to choose if they're all number one? So by default, those projects which are more visible or those projects which are in crisis will move up to number one position. And resources end up getting transferred to the project in crisis in bulk. And it's really inefficient for the organization. Furthermore, nobody's willing to put projects on hold. Now, they're not even willing to talk about it. Everything needs to be done. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of urgency. So we've got to have all these projects out in execution, but without the resource concentration that allows any of them to get done within their time frame.
This sounds like a tough problem. It sounds like many companies have this. What kind of solution would you be able to provide for them?
Well, there's a temporary personal solution for project managers, And then there's an organizational solution. So let's see if I can pull all this together. Whenever we have too many projects running and no prioritization taking place, then it's really up to each project manager to make their project highly visible and treat it as number one, whether it is or not. And it's they're really being true to the project manager's charter, which is to overcome obstacles and get the project done. So there's more escalation in this kind of environment to get the resources that we must have to carry out the project objective. The organizational solution is to begin by taking an inventory of projects and then by prioritizing them for resource loading purposes. So there's a list of projects for the organization, one number 2, one number 3, etc. And this is updated on a monthly basis. We'll load those projects with resources until we run out. And we'll then draw a capacity line on this list of projects. The projects that are above the capacity line are active. The projects that are below the capacity line are on hold, waiting for projects to go to completion so that they can get the resources needed to activate these projects. Now, when this starts to take effect, when we're working within our capacity, we actually see organizations over and over again getting more projects done per year when we're working within our capacity. If we need to take resources from a lower priority project, we always go to the bottom of the list to take resources. So there is less impact throughout the whole list. So 4 doesn't steal from 5. If project number 10 is on the bottom of the list and 4 needs resources, they look at project number 10 first, and then number 9 to find the right resource. It's important to report time on all projects. On problem number 1, I talked in more detail about time reporting, but that enables us to find out what our more precise project capacity is. When we're out of resources, we want to encourage project managers to generate alternatives. So we don't have enough people internally. Well, can we use temporary resources? Can we contract to the outside? That's a common approach. But I remember one project manager who went to a local university and got seniors who were just about to graduate as interns. They wanted experience on their resume, and they worked for 6 months on his project at minimum wage. So he was able to get a low-cost solution, and he matched them with senior people who were on the team, and they got the job done. It's important to put projects on hold. I talked about that. And then for project managers, tell the truth and the whole truth on status reports. And when you're facing scarce resources, get that in front of management. If you don't remind them of the problem, they've got all sorts of pressures, they've got all sorts of urgencies, and they won't respond. The problem will be invisible.
Thank you for listening to the 8 Biggest Problems. For more information on this series or on Cadence Management Corporation training and support for your projects, visit Cadence on the web at www.cadencemc.com. All the tools mentioned in this series are available to download for free. This and all Cadence podcasts are available for free in the iTunes Store. Download iTunes today at www.apple.com/iTunes. Join us next week for the next episode of the 8 Biggest Problems from Cadence Management Corporation. Thank you, and we wish you only the greatest project success.